All right.
What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing?
Hello, everyone. Evan Keeling here.
JP, excuse my shirt, man. I've been out playing around in the dirt. I'm used not this dirty.
You look good, man. You look good.
So we're gonna spend a little bit of time today, really just discussing race relations in America. This is
a little bit of time. Just a dialogue.
Yep.
Starting dialogue.
We're starting the dialogue. This is something that's heavy on people's minds and hearts, but we're not having enough discussion, and so all we're trying to do is really just get the ball rolling in the right direction here. And so I'm going to start off by doing a reading from the Bible, which I normally like to do, and I think that's the truth, the source of truth. And so bear with me here. I'm going to start with Romans 14:10, and it says, "But you, why do you judge your brother? Or you again, why do you regard your brother with contempt? For we all stand before the judgment seat of God. For it is written, As I live, says the Lord, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall give praise to God. So then each one of us will give an account of himself to God. Therefore let us not judge one another any more, but rather determine this, not to put an obstacle or a stumbling block in a brother's way." Verse 19 goes on to say, "So then we pursue the things which make for peace and the building up of one another." 15:2, "Each of us is to please his neighbor for his good, to his edification." And then close it out with 15:7, "Therefore accept one another, just as Christ also accepted us to the glory of God." And so those verses are powerful. And again, I truly believe that the Bible is our source of truth and it's the best guide that we have. And so,
So what do you think is causing the current divide right now?
Yeah, so from my perspective, I think there's a few different things, but one of the main things is we're not getting to know people at an individual level.
Yeah.
We're coming in with assumptions about people, preconceived notions that are keeping us from really getting to know someone for who they really are. For example, JP, he's a black man, right? So a lot of us would come in and say, "Look, he's liberal, right? He's liberal, but he's a Christian, and so maybe he's conservative." But we start lumping people together instead of understanding who he is individually.
Right, or he likes what the Black Lives Matter movement is about. So not only is he a liberal, but he also hates cops. Two of those things aren't true. Like I don't associate myself with any political party, and I love our law enforcement. Or he really likes country music, so he's a conservative. Or he is, I don't know, just he's not really black. Or Uncle Tom. We do that, and sometimes we do this purposefully, right? Some people, I feel like we just do this because this is kind of our comfort.
Yep.
Because we like to figure people out without as much tension and discomfort as possible, so it's easier to just make our assumptions, and ignorance is bliss. And some of us do this subconsciously. I think all of us do this subconsciously to some extent, and it's up to us to fight against that subconscious wiring that tells us that we need to put people in a certain box and define who they are without ever getting to know them.
Yeah, when you think of inclusion, for example, a lot of that is breaking down some of those unconscious associations that we all have. And we need to start to think a little bit more about some of those preconceived notions that we have so we can break those down and get out of our comfort zone and start interacting with people on a true personal level, on a relational level. Right now, we're not getting to that point, and I think that's what's causing that dissonance, is that I'm just going to associate with people who look, act, and think like me, and that's limiting us from the true growth and the true beauty that comes from the diverse culture that we all live in.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think one way to test this out is go to your Facebook. Go to your Facebook, look at the friends, look at the amount of people, look at the people that you follow, look at the people that you're friends with, and see if they believe the same things that you believe, right? Do they believe the same political party? Do they associate with the same types of things, right? If you're getting into the 60, 70, 80% of people that associate with the same things that you associate with, I think that you're in danger of these walls being placed up to where you can't think differently. You can't understand other people's perspective because you're so saturated with an environment that believes in the same thing that you do. And I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's healthy for your growth as a person. I don't think it's healthy for your growth as, I don't think it's healthy for our growth as a community. I think that we need people that disagree with us, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Like as much as we may disagree with somebody, we still have something that we can agree over and bond over.
Yeah.
And stick on to that and hold on to that.
Yeah, and so the first thing we kind of talked about is really just stereotyping people and then not interacting with them because of our preconceived notions. And the second thing that I think that's causing some of the divide that we currently experience right now is we're putting everyone in the same bucket, and we're saying we're all the same. And so, for example, you see hashtag colorblind. And I know it's coming from the right.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but I know it's coming from the right place. And you're trying to say, I'm not prejudice or anything like that. But
it's like, look at us. If you are not blind, you can tell that we have different skin tones. I mean,
That's right.
Look at the skin.
That's it, man.
Like even colorblind people can tell that we have some difference in pigment.
Yeah.
Stop. Like it doesn't make sense. I get the heart. But you're lying to yourself if you cannot say that you cannot. Now, I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that that person's color does not define the way you treat them, but that terminology is incorrect. And it's not even being politically correct. It's just a stupid phrase that gives us an excuse to dismiss differences that may be associated with skin color. So, no, stop saying that.
And let's celebrate our differences.
Yeah.
Let's recognize our differences and then celebrate them because our differences are what makes our culture beautiful.
Yeah, and there's no way you can celebrate that without getting to know people.
That's right.
How can you celebrate something that you don't even know?
Yep. And then one last point on that is that I've heard the terminology used that I don't use descriptors anymore when I'm describing someone, and so an example of that would be I don't say that that's a black man. Yeah. And so we run into these situations when you're trying to describe the one person in a group of 11 that's black, but you don't actually want to call him black. And so you start describing the guy with the dark hair and the purple shirt. And I mean, that's just silly.
I'm black.
Yeah.
I'm black. Say it. Say it. Like, don't feel bad about saying that. It's just a word that describes, that's all it is. Just say it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so what I would say is instead of us just painting with a broad brush, so to speak, and saying everyone's the same and everyone acts and does the same, to me what that is that's whitewashing, and you're making everyone into what you want them to be, and that we can't do that if we truly want to grow as a culture and get to know people individually. Yeah. And so I'll kind of close out with my final thoughts and just say this, that Jesus sums up his commandments really with two, but one of them is love your neighbor as yourself. And we need to truly make an effort to get to know people at an individual level, grow in relationship, and build on those relationships, find those common grounds, but also have good dialogue about the differences and recognize that that's what makes us into the beautiful culture that we are. And let's celebrate the heck out of those. Instead of not having the conversation, let's have more conversation, and let's enjoy the fact that we're having that conversation and getting to know people at a deeper level.
And I think my final thoughts are find value in the differences.
Yep.
If someone believes something different than you, I guarantee you there's at least one thing that you can find value in. Try, fight for it. And you might leave that conversation and say, you know what? I disagree with you still. Or you might leave that conversation and say, you know what? You just literally made me believe more what I believed coming in here. But you will at least be able to say, I understand why you think like that. And I think that's a great thing because that's something that you can be able to sleep good at night. You know what? I disagree with that guy. I don't really agree with the way he views this, but I understand. I understand and it makes sense why he believes that. And that's okay. It is. I think that's something we're so afraid of is differences. We can disagree and still be friends and still love each other and still hang out and still maintain healthy relationships, guys. Don't be afraid of differences. Ask questions. Get to know people. Get to know about people's stories. Ask my, hey, where you from? Tell me your story. How'd you grow up? Right? You'll learn a lot about people, and you'll start to see that these walls that we subconsciously put up will start being broken down as we get to know people individually.
And last point, love covers a multitude of sins. And let's love wholeheartedly, build relationships, and look to serve those around you.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Sweet. Peace.
God bless.